Hello and welcome back to a new video. Today we are going to explore how conversations actually begin and why it is not simple as just saying hello. We'll break down the structure of openings in both casual and institutional talk using the foundational studies in conversation analysis. Conversation openings are the moments where we move from silence or unrelated activity into actual interaction. Conversation openings may seem natural or automatic, but researchers in conversation analysis have shown that they follow recognizable patterns and they serve as important social functions. According to Irving Goffman, openings help establish the interaction order, so who is involved and how they should behave. In addition, Emanuel Sheglovd, another researcher from the conversation analysis, emphasized that they show mutual availability for talk. On a similar note, John Heritage explained that openings help frame what kind of conversation is about to happen, therefore setting the tone of the entire conversation. One of the earlier research on conversational openings is the one by Emanuel Sheglovd. Sheglovd studied the components of conversation openings. His foundational research identified a three-part structure in conversation openings. First, there is a summons-answer pair, like saying someone's name or calling out. Then there is the identification phase, especially on the phone. Finally, there is a greeting or a short exchange like how are you? So these steps help secure the start of mutual engagement and set the tone of the conversation. Sheglovd studied face-to-face conversation and compared them with phone openings. In phone calls, speakers rely on verbal cues to initiate the talk because, of course, there's no shared physical context. So Sheglovd showed that the telephone openings often begin with something neutral like asking or saying hello, and this is usually followed by the self-identification like this is me or this is mom. In the contrary, in face-to-face interaction, the gesture or the eye contact is the one acting as the summons. So they are reducing the need for verbal identification. I will not, of course, say who I am if the person, the speaker in front of me, already knows by seeing me. Research also studied institutional versus casual opening of conversation. Usually in institutional settings, what researchers understood is that conversation openings are shaped by roles and by tasks. For example, a doctor might open the conversation with a question about the symptoms or skipping in general the typical small talk. Heritage and Gleiman also noted that institutional openings tend to prioritize a goal-oriented task. This, in contrary, we do not see in the casual conversation where we actually see speakers building up relationship and social presence by using a small talk. So now that we have looked at the research and the theory beyond conversational openings, we can move to some real examples from research. So the first one you can see, it's a typical phone opening. This comes from Sheglovd's study. Here we see what we just were mentioning before. So there is a clear identification from the speaker. This is exactly because we are lacking the physical context, and this is why I'm saying who I am. The second example, on the contrary, shows how greetings or conversation openings are taking place in a face-to-face interaction, very much relying on gestures and on the shared context. Of course, we do not need to self-identificate ourselves as a speaker because the other speaker is just in front of us. The third example is from an institutional talk, so we will have an opening where there is a shift that directly goes to the goal of the conversation. So what we are lacking here is the relational dynamics. Speakers are rather going directly to the point of the conversation, and as we said before, skipping in most of the cases the small talk. So to wrap up, conversation openings we have seen in this video aren't at all random. They rather follow patterns that help us to manage relationship, the roles, the goals of the conversations. Of course, there will be different dynamics going on, taking place within a conversation, and it is important to study the details. Whether it is a casual hello or a professional greetings, openings in general, they are the one laying the ground for everything that follows in the conversation. And this is why understanding them is giving us powerful insights into how human interactions work. And this is actually what researchers have been studying since many, many years now. Thank you very much for having watched this video and stay tuned for more.